parcel of this.
Well, look at this headline. This morning on CNBC Squawk Box, Jeffrey Sott of Raymond James, a huge firm, stated that Paulson and the Illuminati of the country are responsible for the economic chaos that has been unfolding. He's one of the directors of that multi-billion-dollar company. Here he is talking about the Illuminati running all this. Here we are.
At least you're getting back to the point where you can start to look at fundamentals, and that's good news. What happened?
I think you're in a liquidation phase. I think Kirsten had it exactly right. I think there's a bunch of wrong-footed moves by Hank Paulson and the Illuminati of the country, if you will, and I think we're paying for it right now.
What?
I mean, and they're saying stuff like that all over TV, and all these fiction TV shows are about the evil New World Order coming over and trying to take over, and Biden's calling for a New World Order twice yesterday. I mean, they're just out in the open, Bob.
Yeah, and they know we know it, and your program and programs like yours have been responsible for the word getting to the public, and for that gentleman to have said what he said on that program was absolute dynamite. I mean, when Ed Griffith and Gary Allen and Alan Stang and I started back in the early 60s, I mean, nobody talked about the Illuminati except people who had studied it. Now the world knows, and that's wonderful. They're out in the open. We're out in the open. Let's go for it. Let's go at it.
Well, bottom line, the New World Order always wants to keep the West down. Any independent Western nation not under the control of the Anglo-American Dutch system. So Britain and the U.S. openly funded the Bolsheviks, murdered 60 million people. Got control of it. The Russians threw that off, and then we had this fake right-wing propaganda that, oh, they're still commies, they're going to get us. Meanwhile, the government's really funding communism here, and now they're going after Russia as hard as they can. I'm not saying Russia's run by good people either. The point is they're nothing compared to the New World Order. So they're trying to start a war with them because they can't have a unipolar world with sovereign individuals, and it's because they hate the people of the West. I mean, it's bottom line.
And they've also destroyed their own system through their greed. And this is not the first time that they've done it. They've done it over and over again. They've only been hoisted on their own petard, as far as I know, twice in the last 1,000 years, which was in 1348 and then in the early 1600s.
Yeah, the Templars, and then
they're going to get it again this time.
The Templars,
only this time we're not going to play Mr. Nice Guy.
The Templars, and then what? What was the other one in the 60s?
Well, it was Templars, and then it was the collapse of the Lombard system in 1348, which that year was accompanied by the Great Plague in Europe, which wiped out half the population, and then the fall of the Hanseatic League in the early 1600s in Europe.
And that was out of
Germany.
Germany and Italy, yeah, with the Hanseatic Knights.
So they've gotten away with it. In both instances, many of the people were exiled. There is no exile for them this time. They either take all of us out or we take them out. It's the only way it's going to be.
All right, Paul Watson's going to be back the last 20 minutes of the show after his big article at prisonplanet.com is posted. And we're so conditioned to accept evil now that, the Rand Corporation, it's just big international news. No one knows in the U.S. or England. We're over here in our little bubble cocoon. Oh, it's all over the major papers that they know the U.S. is planning to sneak attack them. But it's not the U.S., it's this criminal group. And they've got all their deep underground bases and the rest of it they've been building for 50 years. God help us. Paul, run through those facts one more time and some other caveats you didn't add. The good news is, like you're putting in the article, you mentioned to me during the break to make sure and point out, Fox Fallon, they ordered him to attack Iran. He said no. They had two previous commanders of CENTCOM say no. And so the good news is even there, and he was a CFR New World Order guy, they're still not suicidal. They're still not, start World War III. Paul?
Yeah. On February 25th, 2007, the London Times reported that up to 5 generals and admirals would quit if Bush ordered an attack on Iran. And then a couple of weeks later in March, Fallon quit because he, disagreed with the policy on Iran. They tried to veil it, and they said, it's not because we're planning to attack them, no. But you had these 5 generals or more that were going to quit if it happened, and then the antagonism towards Iran kind of subsided a little after that. So that's the hope that, Rand are proposing this new war to the Pentagon, but there are good people inside the Pentagon that will stand up against it, and that's what rides in our favor.
Well, forget even good people, Bob. I mean, what about sanity? I mean, these people already own the world. Why do they have to run around and start World War III?
They know better what is good for us than we do. And so they must be the imperial leaders in the future, and we must be their slaves. And that's really what it boils down to in the final analysis, because most of them have far more wealth than they could ever spend in 100 lifetimes. And so it's really power and shaping the world the way that they want it to be shaped, and us taking our place in their future world. I mean, goodness gracious, we've seen so many books and expostulations on the subject in the last 100 years of people who are connected to these secret societies, and they've cried out and said what they want to do, and they're going for it. This is the last time for them. And if they don't subject us this time, they know it's all over, because there's too many people like us out there who are not going to let them do it again.
Well, that's another thing. Everybody keeps misinterpreting what I'm saying and what history shows and what our guests are saying. We're not saying next week or next month troops are going to come to your door and say, come to the FEMA camp. They're going to shut the power off. They're going to shut the water off. The troops are going to see people on the news begging them to come in. Then there's going to be staged insurgencies and real violence. And then the troops are going to have to fight for their lives against the American people. And then that will be on the news and set the precedent. And then international forces, 6 months, a year, 2 years. And this has all been drawn out by these Rand bastards and even the stuff that's declassified. And I mean, they say what cold-bloodedly dominates for Wall Street and the foreign banks. I mean, Thomas Barnett, the head of the Naval War College, he openly says this on C-SPAN. They work for offshore money. You are seen literally as like a gallon of oil in the ground, a barrel of oil. You are seen as a human resource. They are all about the cold-bloodedness of it. They think they're higher than us because they're cold-blooded. And as the PNAC documents say, we got the power, we got the nukes, we got the space-based weapons, we got the particle beams, a lot of other secret stuff. That's why they're so arrogant. And they say, we're going to impoverish our people. We're going to attack other nations. We're going to sterilize people. We're going to put poison in the water. We're going to do it because we're dominant, and that's the way it is. And they're going to set it up where you beg for it, folks, where you beg for it. Bob Chapman.
I agree with everything you said. You really covered it, in total. I mean, this is the direction it's going in. This is their mindset. This is their goal. You've said it just the way it is. You know, that's why I'm not even angry. I don't even feel defeated by the corrupt cops in CIA and FBI. They all think they're winners, and we get to taser and kill whoever we want. You're not going to win nothing, Jack. You understand? Bob, explain to them what's in store for them. Well, I think in America, it'll come in stages, and you've just explained some of them. And Americans are different than other people. It's probably because of the evolution of their culture since the revolution. And as unconcerned as they seem now, as sheeple-like as they seem now, there's always been that strain within their culture. When they have been attacked, they become ferocious and vicious animals. And I think you're going to see that again. And I think that our opposition knows that, and they know it's going to be a long, hard fight, and they think they're going to win, and we think we're going to win. But the people will rise up to it, and they will participate, because they won't have any other choice. And it's just who's going to win, and I think we will.
But my whole point is the police and military and government people, whether they know it or not, they're really in the same boat as us. And that's what's so sick about this trick of the New World Order, is they always play one phase off against the next when it's really a war against all of us.
Right, and, they get their paycheck. And that has a lot to do with the way they act, up to a certain point. And, I've talked to generals who say, 90% of the military will not shoot their own people. And if the other 10% do, the other 90% will shoot them. And so the same applies to law enforcement. through public employees. They're just not going to do that in America. Maybe in some countries they might, but they're not going to do it in America. And this is where I think they're missing the vote, and that they're bringing foreign troops. It is the worst conceivable thing that they can do.
Yeah, remember, we were the kooks, the weirdos, warning of that when we had the documents and sources. Now it's, we're hiring felons, foreigners, foreign felons. Yeah, we're doing it. Just all over the news.
Well, there's just too many weapons in America, and they're not going to get a hold of them.
Paul Watson, you still there?
Yeah.
You're going to be back the last 20 minutes. I want you to be able to write the article. Anything else you didn't add?
I can read it now if you want. It's finished. It's posted.
So you've been sitting there while I've been talking. Go ahead.